an interesting sci-fi movie that makes you wonder, what if a person really lives outside of time? Did he have a past and is there a future? How thoughts and actions affect the reality of people here and now? What would happen if time were removed from human existence?
Watch fantastic recaps by fans of the movies.
The main character stands on a hill and contemplates the view of a small town. He asserts that the world may end tomorrow and that nothing can be changed. On his way home, Alex discovers the body of a man in his living room. He grabs the phone to call the police, but changes his mind and decides to examine the body more closely. Alex turns the body over and realizes it's himself. Next to the body is an envelope marked "Look at me," inside which is a flash drive containing a video. On the video, he sees himself, promising to explain everything, but warning that a difficult riddle awaits the hero. It all begins with a doorbell ringing, and a woman and two men in black standing in the doorway. The woman introduces herself as Rebecca Stillman, an employee of a private scientific organization working with a national security agency. Alex is surprised and suggests she contact his lawyer. But the woman interrupts, saying she wants to offer him a job. But he has to sign the papers first. Alex examines the contract and notices that he's being asked to sign a document containing numerous non-disclosure clauses. He mentions that he is being offered a job without disclosing its nature. After some negotiation, the lady offers the hero money to sign the confidentiality documents and listens to him. The man accepts. The lady explains that the hero will be hired to decipher a coded message as he is one of the best coders of his generation. Alex begins to feel modest, but his interlocutor tells him that her company is very impressed by his work on the Ember algorithm, which has broken numerous laws and threatened the security of hundreds of companies. The hero explains that he was the victim of a prank by the National Security Agency, who were looking for backdoors in the code, and that when this was leaked, they dropped it. Alex says it's a conspiracy, but he still wants to know the details of the proposal. It turns out that 2 months ago, the government discovered an American satellite orbiting the Earth that it hadn't launched. It was brought back, and inside, a coded message was found. When the hero suggests that it may not be an American satellite, Rebecca asserts that it is American, but as her organization believes, from the future. Alex begins to doubt the relevance of the offer and even suspects that the check he received in exchange for non-disclosure is a fake. But Rebecca insists that if he accepts, he'll work to decipher the message in a closed laboratory with everything he needs. We'll sedate him beforehand and transport him to the lab. She clarifies, taking the necessary precautions. Shocked by such an offer, Alex increasingly doubts the sincerity of the people who have come, suspecting that the National Security Agency wants to punish him in this way. To convince him otherwise, Rebecca asks him to check the bank account to which she transferred the money for the non-disclosure agreement. She shows him the amount of the work, while describing all the hero's problems. Lack of work, trying to create a startup under a pseudonym, his parents' old house, accumulating debts. Finally, the hero agrees to sign the contract. The next day, a car comes to pick him up, in which the man in black puts him to sleep with an injection. Alex wakes up in a small room that looks more like a prison cell. It's furnished with a bed, a table with a chair, and a table lamp. Rebecca shows him the lab, which isn't very impressive either. Among the gadgets are a few computers, some with giant old screens. In the middle of the room, behind a glass wall, there's a satellite that looks more like an enormous pot. But it's inside this structure that the message is stashed. Rebecca explains that the organization's pros have only managed to extract noise from the device, and that the various decryption methods haven't yielded much. Alex says that whoever sent the satellite left a backdoor and that it's going to take him a while to decipher the data. Rebecca says everyone's eagerly awaiting the results to see what's inside. Like a good coder, Alex asks for some extra gear, a coffee maker, a fridge full of beers, and a 20-year-old bourbon. 5 weeks later, Rebecca returns to the lab where Alex, still wearing the same beanie, is still deciphering the message. She offers him a ride, or at least a chat with a shrink, but the guy, bottle of beer in hand, is determined to work until the end. One day, food is brought in. He continues to work and begins to hear the voice of a young girl who is also trying to decipher the message. He even sees her standing in front of the blackboard. In a second, the vision disappears and the guy puts it on the bottle return. Suddenly, his nose starts to bleed, but it soon stops. Later, lying in bed, Alex notices binary code symbols etched into the furniture, encrypting Beth Carter's name. Alex returns to the drawing board where he saw the girl in his vision. A revelation comes to him, and part of the message turns out to be deciphered. At the same time, the hero realizes that someone else worked on the message before him, as the organization didn't provide him with all the information. Alex hands Rebecca the plans for a protective device, along with a Navajo language message about the approach of World War III. The employee then declares that the coder's work is done, that he will be put to sleep and sent home, and that he will be monitored to make sure he doesn't talk. Despite Alex's resistance, this is exactly what happens. The hero wakes up at home, where he immediately vomits. At first he thinks it's the effects of the sedative, but a few days later he starts hearing incomprehensible sounds. Just in the middle of this event, the doorbell rings again. Standing in the doorway are two suspicious men. Despite this, Alex lets them into the house. The visitors ask Alex why he has agreed to work with the companion, to which he replies that he is well paid. The men continue to question whether the hero's act was altruistic and why they chose him. Alex begins to suspect something and asks to be shown the guest's documents. But they continue to ask him questions. Does he feel responsible for the weapons that will be created according to the decoded plans? Is his conscience eating away at him, etc.? Alex is not in his right mind, rubbing his head feverishly, but he continues to insist that he only acted because it was his job and that he's not responsible for what's going to happen. The guys keep asking him if he's been scared, if he's thought about dying, to which Alex asks the guests to leave. They thank him and leave. The protagonist's headaches cease immediately. Alex starts looking for access to the project. But just then his screen goes blank and Rebecca calls him on the phone. She reminds him that the decryption results are the property of the US government and warns him not to do it again. Alex realizes that he is being watched, and when he goes back to work, the electricity goes out. Alex goes outside and sees the blurred silhouette of one of the suspicious guys who visited him earlier. The vision appears and disappears, then starts to grow, reaching the height of a two-story house. The stunned hero returns home. He hopes he's dreaming, but the silhouette of a guy appears in one of his doorways. Alex rushes to escape and locks himself in his room on the second floor. The hero opens the window and sees a tall guy in a suit and hat holding out his hand. Alex offers him his in return, and in the morning Rebecca goes to the coders, finds objects scattered around his house, and Alex comes to her with a bottle of beer. He starts talking about quantum equations, wormholes, and holographic principles. Alex thinks that aliens might well coexist in the same space as humans, but in a different time, allowing them to observe what's going on without being seen by anyone. Rebecca listens in horror and suggests that the hero stop. But he says it's high time the government stopped building a device based on the decrypted plans. According to him, the aliens sent it to the humans to start World War III, not to prevent it. Rebecca is incredulous at Alex's claims, noting that the organization has had access to his medical records and is aware of his brain tumor. Guy claims that the satellite radiation causing the brain cancer has allowed him to see aliens, but his interviewer insists that he is hallucinating. She suggests that he go to a friend's house or elsewhere, but that he stop working. Alex insists that he must stop building the device, claiming that he is not dying himself. In the present, Alex tires of watching such a disturbing video and goes downstairs to the living room, where his body continues to lie. He removes and buries his corpse in the wasteland. He then returns to the video where Alex from the future tells him that the organization didn't listen to him, and that he remembered another cryptographer who had been hired before him. He goes to Beth Carter's house. She lives in a lonely house and looks sick. As soon as he talks about the organization, Batehan slams the door shut and refuses to talk. He starts running around her house, screaming that he is not connected to the organization. He found her name on the bed, that the message is not what the government thinks it is, that humanity is in danger because of the machine. But no one believes him since he is dying and has 6 months to live. Beth comes out to the man and replies that she only has 2 years left. The heroes, sitting around the table, discuss the imminent death, the weapons that have gotten to people, when Beth blabs that in all the time since the project she has only talked to doctors and a certain cipherman who probably works for the organization. When asked by Alex, she reveals that he contacts her through the computer, setting various tasks and discussing quantum physics. Beth gets sick and goes to bed. As she falls asleep, she says that she never wrote her name in binary code. Alex goes down to the living room where he sees flashbacks of Beth's life. How she says goodbye to her lover in military uniform, and how she is informed of his death and tries to kill herself. Then he notices a message from Cypherman on the monitor screen. Alex replies on behalf of Beth, but the interlocutor exposes him. The guy finds the tasks that Cypherman sends to Beth and starts to study them. Upon waking up, the homeowner finds her guest asleep on the living room sofa with a pile of stains stuck together. Alex assumes that the mysterious caller's stains form a message to be assembled from different solutions. He suspects that Cypherman doesn't work at the Institute. He asks Beth to help him stop the death machine. The woman tells him that when she arrived, she became completely obsessed with the messages and started hearing foreign voices until she realized she was talking to herself. Alex thinks Beth may also have had alien encounters, but she continues to insist that these are just hallucinations and that all she wants is to die in peace. Beth asks guests to leave. In his house, Alex surprises Rebecca, accompanied by guards, who reminds him that he must not divulge her information and threatens him with consequences if the hero persists in his work. But Alex isn't afraid of threats and offers to shoot him directly in the tumor. Rebecca leaves, advising the hero to take advantage of the time he has left before he dies. In the house, he discovers a mess, and all the equipment and computer have been taken away by the Institute staff. Meanwhile, in the evening, Beth sees a mysterious light coming from the street outside her window, sending her into a state of panic. Alex is still drinking and thinking about what's going on when a message from Cypherman appears on his new screen. Cypherman assumes that Rebecca is hiding under this nickname, but his interlocutor denies it. Just then, the doorbell rings and Beth stands in the doorway, saying that Cypherman has given her the plans for a new device capable of destroying the mysterious machine and told her to go and see Alex. The heroes come to believe that the stranger is trying to stop the machine's construction. They discuss the temporal fluctuations each of them is experiencing. Together, the heroes decide to create a virus that Cypherman will inject into the computer at just the right moment, disrupting the machine. The next morning, Rebecca arrives at the house and warns them that representatives of the organization will be at their home any minute. She tells them that after being exposed to radiation, she's also seeing aliens. But the government thinks it's a hallucination. She explains that helped Cypherman get in touch with Alex and Beth to develop the virus, since she can't do it herself. She has also written Beth's name on Alex's bed in the lab. Rebecca gives them the address of an unknown computer specialist and advises them not to trust anyone. She suggests they take to the open sea and try to apprehend their pursuers. Rebecca warns them that, as time goes by, the alien presence is only increasing, endangering the entire human race. As the heroes flee, an employee of the organization is shot dead by guards accompanied by a slender alien in a suit. Alex's house is ravaged by a gas explosion. Alex and Beth head to the address provided by Rebecca to meet Miles Driscoll, the scientist whom they know as Cypherman. The man recognizes the visitors. He's been following their work all along. The scientist reveals that the current satellite is not the only one. Many years ago, another satellite was spotted orbiting the Earth for several hundred years. Miles believes that unknown individuals launched it so that Earthlings would understand when mankind would reach a level of development that would allow space travel and understanding of the message. The vehicle contained plans for a device that would allow extraterrestrials to link up with our dimension. However, when Driscoll told his colleagues about it, they thought he was paranoid. Miles has also been diagnosed with a brain tumor that allows him to see aliens, but it's not fatal. He is convinced that these creatures can live beyond the limits of linear time. What's more, a new invention the organization is developing will enable the aliens to access a dimension of humanity. At present, they observe human life as if it were a videotape that they can rewind. The second machine will enable them to alter the fabric of human reality. The scientist mentions that he can't fully explain the nature of the whole process, as even the perception of aliens varies from person to person, influenced by the human brain and its experience with these creatures. He maintains that an alien lives in his garden, but Alex and Beth don't see anyone. Miles believes that the tumors in the scientists' heads are extraterrestrial assistants that enables them to perceive these beings. The callers fear that the ability to alter reality will have disastrous consequences, and Alex simply suggests destroying the new device with a hammer. However, it remains possible that the organization could rebuild it using the decoded plans. They decide to delete the data linked to the device from the organization's servers, even though they don't know where it is. Miles reminds the guests that he was one of the founders of the organization and not only knows how to get there, but also has the plans for its buildings. Just then, there's a loud knock on the door. Alex and Beth flee, while Miles tries to calm his rambunctious alien in the backyard. Settled in a roadside motel, the heroes make homemade bombs overnight and set off to destroy a device threatening mankind. They quickly locate the Institute building and gain access through a trapdoor. The heroes must split up to increase their chances of finding the device. Alex encounters a guard on his way, but continues to move in the opposite direction. Presumably, the temporal fluctuations are beginning to make themselves felt more and more. He manages to overtake him and continues on his way. Meanwhile, Beth sneaks into their old laboratory and tries to reach the computer, but the time loop keeps taking her back to the moment she entered the room. Around Alex, reality is spinning out of control. One of the factory guards is simply floating in midair. Beth can't get near the computer, but she places the bomb on a stretcher and pushes it to the right spot. However, she is unable to leave the laboratory either, as she is constantly pulled back into the past. Alex finds himself in a large, dark room at the center of which is an incomprehensible device. The timer on Beth's explosive device begins to tick. Alex pulls a second bomb from the backpack and runs towards the device, which begins to move away. Beth places her hands on the wires of the explosive device. Alex is chased by one of the aliens, who reaches out to grab him, but just then an explosion takes place. The main character finds himself sitting at a table in a dark room with one of the aliens. Alex thinks he has passed away, but the alien comforts him by informing him that they are simply interested in observing humans and their perception of time. For extraterrestrials, linear time is incomprehensible. They believe that humans are trapped in this manifestation of temporal events. They are constantly experiencing the same thing as they are born, learn, live, and die. Aliens live beyond the concepts of space and time. They don't understand cause and effect. They are interested in the fact that there is only one certainty in human existence: death. The rest of the time, people try to distance themselves from this moment. For them, time is both giver and thief. What would happen if time were removed from human reality? But even an eternity of introspection wouldn't allow people to understand the difference between illusion and reality. Each new person gives birth to his or her own reality. Alex asks the aliens about our universe, if they're so powerful that they can move from one dimension to another. But according to the interlocutor, this would make the world a mere projection, not a perception. The man feels very ill, and the alien suggests that he return to a time when he wasn't ill, but leave the knowledge he's gained behind. Alex says he will refuse to work for the organization this time. The alien doesn't understand why he should change his behavior if he can't change reality. Alex is forced to recognize that people don't choose what happens to them. Alex finds himself at home, in his armchair, and immediately starts recording videos on a flash drive, all the while realizing that he can't change a thing. The world could disappear tomorrow, but everything could have happened before it even began. He puts down the envelope containing the flash drive and collapses in his living room. At the end of the video, he wonders if he should warn Beth. Alex from the past goes to see the girl and remembers the last words of himself in the future, where he asks to forget everything and move on.
Watch fantastic recaps by fans of the movies.
What would you do if you received such a message from the future? Thank you for following our channel and helping us grow. Leave your comments below the video so our content becomes better